Shocking family secret. My son gave his Emil a BMW. I got just 3. Blocked him at 3 a.m. It was a night like no other. A night where family bonds unraveled into chaos. The clock struck 3, and every tick echoed in Karen's mind. Her heart raced as she stared at the glowing screen of her phone. Blocked. Her own son, Joey. Felt like a gut punch. He had always been the golden child, the one everyone spoke of in glowing terms. But tonight, he had robbed her of more than just connection. He had handed a BMW to his mother-in-law and given Karen a mere 3. Unbelievable. The evening had started innocently, Joey swinging by with a bag filled with leftovers and a smile that could light up any room. But then out of nowhere everything took a sharp turn. He casually dropped the news, a BMW in the driveway, the keys dangling like a taunt, and Karen's stomach twisted. She was the one who sacrificed everything, juggling jobs, spending sleepless nights, only to receive a tragically low paycheck and a flicker of disdain when she realized her son chose his wife's mother over her. The tension hung thick in the air, like smoke in a crowded room, wrapping around her throat, suffocating. But what happened next caught her completely off guard. Whispers filled the air, her gut churning as the phone buzzed again. Arguing voices echoed in her memories. What had she even done to deserve this? It was not just betrayal, it was a public humiliation. He had smirked when he told her, as if relishing in her shock. "You're just being dramatic, Mom," he had said, rolling his eyes. And just like that he was gone. Suddenly her phone vibrated again. A message from Joey, a picture of the shiny car gleaming under the moonlight, and a heart emoji next to it. That emoji twisted the knife deeper, like salt in a wound. She felt a lump forming in her throat, a surge of anger and heartbreak washing over her. The betrayal seared through her. It was almost too much to bear. It couldn't end like this. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Determined, she grabbed her coat, feeling the fabric scratch against her skin, an unpleasant reminder of her own frustrations. As she stormed out the door, questions buzzed in her mind like a swarm of angry bees. What had driven her son to this? Was it really just the allure of a new car? Or was there something darker lurking beneath the surface? She needed answers. The darkness of anger gave way to fear. Fear of losing a part of her heart. She drove through the winding streets, each turn more desperate than the last. What horror awaited her as she confronted her beloved son? The headlights of Karen's car cut through the dark night, illuminating the twisting road ahead. Every mile felt heavier, a weight pressing down on her chest. She clenched the steering wheel, knuckles turning white. She wanted to scream, to hurl her frustrations into the void around her. The betrayal loomed large, obscuring her vision of the loving, devoted son she thought she knew as she neared Joey's house. A flicker of light caught her eye. A shadow moved by the window, the silhouette unmistakable, Joey and his wife Carla, sharing a laughter that twisted her insides. It felt like daggers were thrust into her heart, embedding deeper with each shared chuckle. Had they done this on purpose? Did they know the turmoil she felt? Parked across the street, she watched as they moved closer together, her heart racing with questions. What had changed in him? What had soured their bond? It infuriated her to think he had chosen a car and a mother-in-law over the very woman who taught him how to ride a bike, who stayed up late sweating over school projects, who cheered the loudest at every achievement. Before she could talk herself out of it, she climbed out of the car. The cold air wrapped around her, invigorating yet terrifying. Each step toward the door felt heavy, as if the ground itself was protesting her approach. Would they welcome her? Or would she find a slammed door in cold contempt? Taking a deep breath, she reached for the doorbell, hesitating for a moment. It seemed monumental, like pressing a button to detonate a bomb. Finally she pressed it down. The chime echoed through the quiet night, and she could hear movement inside. Heart pounding, she straightened her back and prepared herself, bracing for impact. The door swung open, revealing Joey, looking slightly disheveled and utterly shocked. His mouth opened, but before he could speak she shot out, "We need to talk." Her voice came out firmer than she felt. "I don't think now," as he started, but she interrupted him, stepping past him into the living room where Carla sat, her expression shifting from cheerful to a tight-knit fury. "What's going on, Joey?" Karen demanded, her nerves pushing her into the storm of confrontation. "Is this about the car? Did you honestly think I wouldn't care? You gave her a luxury car and a pocket change to me. What kind of son are you?" The words fell from her lips like snowflakes in a blizzard, each one colder than the last. Carla crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing, shielding Joey like a fortress. "Mom, it's not what you think," but her voice felt more like a warning than a defense. "No, it's exactly what I think." Karen fired back, voice shaking. "You're prioritizing her over me." Joey's face flickered with conflict. His forehead creased as he struggled to respond. "This isn't about you, Mom. I thought you'd want," but the frustration spilled over, a wall of resentment forming between them. "Want what?" She could feel the air thickening around her, stifling her every breath. "Want to be pushed aside? Want to be replaced?" The tension swelled, crackling in the air like a charged storm. It was unbearable. Joey took a step back, his gaze piercing hers, searching for something understanding. "Forgiveness? Maybe you don't see it, but I'm trying to make my own life," he hissed, his voice rising. "You're just not a part of it anymore." The silence that followed felt deafening. Emotions crashed like waves against a shore. Both raw and desperate, the moment teetered on the edge of collapse. And then it happened. Karen noticed a flicker of movement behind Joey. A shadow stretched across the floor, ominous and strange. A figure appeared at the back of the room, silently observing the crashing waves of the familial storm. The atmosphere shifted violently, panic flooding her senses. Who was it? What did this mean for her family? Out of the corner of her eye, she saw the glistening edge of something reflecting light, and it wasn't the BMW. "Who was that?" Karen's voice quivered, fear punctuating her words, as all eyes turned towards the unexpected intruder. In that moment she realized this confrontation was only the beginning. The figure stepped forward, the dim light revealing a petite woman with wild hair, her eyes wide and unblinking. Karen's heart raced as she struggled to wrap her head around who this stranger was. The tension in the room thickened further, like the air before a thunderstorm. Carla's eyes narrowed, her jaw setting in a manner Karen had never seen before. "You shouldn't be here, Chloe," she hissed, her voice low and menacing. Chloe? Karen thought. Who was this Chloe, and what did she have to do with Joey? It felt as if a foreign element had invaded their moment, a sharp, prickly cactus among their fragile domesticity. "Joey, I'm sorry," Chloe said in a breathless rush, taking another hesitant step. "I didn't want to interrupt, but I need to talk to you." There was a desperation etched into her features, as if she was holding onto a thread that could snap any moment. Karen's instinct screamed at her. She couldn't allow this interloper to disrupt what little was left of her family. "Joey, who is she?" The demand came out sharper than she intended, slicing through the air. Joey's face was a study in confusion. "Chloe, she's your girlfriend?" Karen snapped, the words exploding from her like shrapnel. Carla stepped through the doorway of her protective stance, glaring at Karen. "She's nobody. Just someone who doesn't belong here." "No," Chloe cut in, her voice trembling but firm. "I'm not nobody. I know what's been happening. Joey, you need to hear me out." The plea vibrated in the empty silence, each word a challenge thrown into the fray. Karen watched Joey's expression shift, a flicker of guilt crossing his face. "What do you know?" he asked, his voice flat as if he was already preparing himself for some tragic revelation. Chloe hesitated, her courage wavering before she summoned the strength to continue. "It's about your father, Joey. About why your mother deserves more than you've given her. You have to listen." A semblance of horror crept along the walls, the room suffocating with secrets that had languished in shadows for too long. Karen felt a cold chill race through her bones. All her anger at Joey shifted into confusion. What about her husband? What was this girl talking about? "What do you mean?" Joey asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Chloe took another step forward, her voice cracking under the weight of revelation. "There's something you don't know. Something I thought would stay buried." But you deserve to know your family isn't what you think it is. The room felt suffocating. Karen's breath caught in her throat as an image swam into her mind. The figure standing silently in the corner had ripped away the veil of normality draped over their lives. This isn't the right time for Joey tried to say, but Chloe interrupted. No, this is the perfect time. If you don't hear it now, it may be too late. The urgency in her voice resonated through the tension, making Karen's heart race anew. Karen felt her knees weaken, a wave of nausea flooding her. You're lying, she shouted, the words echoing back at her. No, I'm not, Chloe insisted, desperation tinging her voice. Your father, he has done something that could change everything. What do you mean? Before Chloe could answer, a loud crash erupted outside, the unmistakable sound of glass shattering and alarms blaring. It startled them all, but in that moment no one moved a muscle. What had just happened? The chaos outside was loud, invasive, but the reverberations of Chloe's claim echoed deeper. As sirens wailed beneath the quiet cries and screams of people unaware of the turmoil unraveling in the house, Karen felt the ground shift beneath her. This night was no longer about a car or jealousy. It was a crossroads that threatened to tear apart the very fabric of their lives. The undeniable sensation of dread washed over her. If Chloe was telling the truth, what were the implications? As the reality of the danger loomed closer, time seemed to drip away, leaving questions churning in the air like smoke before a fire. What had Joey's father done? And facing this whirlwind of secrets, would they ever be the same again? The loud crash outside echoed through the house, shattering the precarious tension in the room like thin glass. Karen felt herself flinch, her heart thudding loudly in her chest as the sirens wailed, blending with the chaos unfolding just beyond their walls. She could see the uncertainty flickering across Joey's face, his confusion deepening as he looked between her and Chloe, two women tugging at different ends of his reality. What the hell is going on? Joey finally blurted out, his voice barely above the cacophony outside. Chloe took a deep breath, her wild hair framing her face like a storm cloud ready to burst. Your father, he is hiding something big, Joey. Something dangerous. Her voice was trembling but fierce, as if every word was one more fragile thread binding them to the truth. Karen's instincts kicked in. No, we're not doing this right now, not with whatever's happening outside. But her words sounded weak even to her ears. She could feel the cracks in her armor, an instinct to protect her family conflicting with a dread that wrapped around her throat like a vice. Chloe stepped forward undeterred. You need to look at this clearly. I've seen the things he does, talk to people he shouldn't even be associated with. You have to realize it's not just business. It's dangerous. Dangerous? Karen echoed, disbelief filling her. This girl couldn't possibly know anything about her husband. You don't know what you're talking about. Her voice wavered, uncertainty creeping in like an unwanted guest. Stop. Just stop. Joey shouted, the tension erupting from his chest. I need to know the truth. If he has done something, if my father has put us in danger. His words trailed off, his face paling at the very thought that a new sound joined the alarm. Shouts erupted from the street, immediate and full of urgency. Get down. Get down. What the hell? Karen felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead. Chloe turned more serious, her brows knitting together. I told you this is not just about your father. He is involved in something, Joey. Something illegal. The air thickened with words unspoken, their weight almost suffocating. The truth hung like a dark cloud, just waiting for a match to ignite it into a wildfire. What did you see? Joey asked, his voice lower now, eyes locked with Chloe's, as if she were the only lifeline in a storm. Chloe bit her lip, hesitation flickering across her features. I saw him with people I shouldn't have. They were discussing transactions that involve more than just money, and I think they're looking for someone. The words sunk deep, like stones thrown into a still pond, waves of fear and uncertainty rippling outward. Karen felt her breath hitch as an image of her husband, someone she loved and trusted, twisted into something dark and unrecognizable. Who are they looking for? She pressed, her mind racing. Chloe shook her head. I don't know, but if you don't believe me, you might find out the hard way. Suddenly, a blinding light flashed through the window, flooding the room, a police searchlight cutting through the night. It shone through the darkness like a spotlight on their fragile lives, illuminating the fear etched on every face. A heavy knock sounded at the door, urgent and commanding. "Open up. Police." Joey's eyes widened and for a moment he looked lost. Karen felt as if the ground had vanished beneath her, the weight of uncertainty tangibly threatening to collapse their world. "Now what?" Joey whispered, panic creeping into his voice as they exchanged glances. The harshness of their reality loomed ominously. Whatever was happening outside was no longer just noise. It was a warning. They couldn't escape it. The truth loomed like a predator, waiting for them to unveil it. But would they have the strength to face what lay ahead? With every heartbeat, the air crackled with impending danger. And amidst the chaos of the night, Karen knew one thing for better or worse: their lives were about to change forever. What did the police know? And who or what were they really confronting? The door rattled as the urgent knocks echoed sharply. "Open up. Police." The voice on the other side was more than demanding. It was insistent, like the waves crashing against the shore, repeated and relentless. Karen felt a chill race up her spine. This wasn't just some disturbance. It was a reckoning. Joey's face tightened, caught between disbelief and terror. What do they want? Are they looking for Dad? Chloe's eyes darted nervously to the door, then back to Joey. "We can't let them in. Not until we know why they're here." Her voice was filled with a frantic energy, but Karen detected an edge of desperation beneath it. Karen's instincts screamed for calm, but the pounding of her heart betrayed her. "What if they are here for him?" she whispered, and her breath hitched. The thought alone nearly brought her to her knees. She clutched Joey's arm, as if he could somehow shield her from the unraveling chaos. "Mom, what if he's in trouble?" Joey's voice cracked, panic making him a boy again, one lost in a world far too big and terrifying. Chloe moved toward the window, trying to peer out through the heavy curtains, her fingers trembling. "I saw them. Men in dark coats, shadows lurking outside his office. They were different, Joey. Not just thugs, but something worse." The chatter outside grew louder, punctuated by bursts of static from the police radios. Commands and instructions floated through the door, mixing with the haunting echoes of their own fears. "We need to hide," Karen finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They can't find us like this. For God's sake, where?" Joey sounded frantic, his eyes darting around the dimly lit room. "What if they search everywhere? We'll be caught." Chloe's eyes snapped toward him, a sudden spark igniting. "The basement. It's a crawl space. They'll never look there. We can figure it out. Now." "In the dark," Karen protested, even as she felt the gravity of their situation dragging her down. But with every passing moment, the urgency intensified. "Mom, we have to go." Joey was pulling her gently toward the stairs. His resolve fueled her own fear, pushing her limbs into action. They needed to act, to flee from this impending doom. The lights outside flickered as the sirens blared in stereo, drowning out their desperate breaths. The three of them rushed toward the basement door, hearts pounding louder than the chaos above. As they descended into the shadows, Karen's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of Chloe's revelations. Questions surged like a tidal wave. What did her husband really do? And who were these people looking for? In the confined space of the basement, the darkness enveloped them. Chloe crouched low, ears straining to hear the muffled voices of law enforcement as they combed through the house above them. The air was thick, heavy with dread, and in the silence, every creak of the floorboards above felt like a snare tightening around their throats. "What if he's okay?" Joey's whisper trembled with false hope. "What if it's just business as usual for him?" But deep down they all felt the truth like a dagger piercing their hope. "He's always mixed up in something," Chloe said, her voice barely audible. "And now it's coming back to haunt him and us." The pounding upstairs faded, replaced by a ghostly stillness. They exchanged anxious glances, hearts twisting in their chests. And just then, a chilling voice carried down the staircase, cold and commanding, shattering their fragile silence. "We know you're down there. Come out now and no one will get hurt." Karen's breath caught in her throat, panic spilling over. What would they do? How could they face what was lurking in the dark? In that heartbeat of paralyzing fear, everything threatened to unravel. Would they confront their fate, or flee deeper into the shadows? The air felt electric, a live wire of fear coursing through Karen's veins. "What do we do?" she whispered, glancing at Joey and Chloe, their faces ghostly in the dim light. We can't just stay here. Chloe hissed, her hand trembling against the cold concrete wall. What if they come down? We need to find a way out. But where? Karen's mind raced, grappling with the reality above them and the urgency of the moment. The walls were closing in, and somewhere, that voice thick with menace hovered like a storm cloud on the brink of breaking. A loud crash broke through the silence, sending a shiver down Karen's spine. Something had fallen upstairs. The tension radiated off Joey. Every muscle in his body tensed. What if they find out we're here? His breathing sped up, mirroring the frantic pulse in Karen's chest. Calm down. Chloe snapped but then quickly softened. We have to think. There's still a chance if we move fast. Back to the door, the voice commanded again, sharper this time. You have 5 seconds. Karen squeezed Joey's hand, and he returned the gesture, his small fingers trembling in hers. Could they trust whatever lay beyond the door? The chance of outsmarting the men with authority filled her with trepidation. Wait, Chloe tilted her ear to the staircase. Do you hear that? There's more than one voice. The oppressive silence shattered as the door creaked open, heavy boots thudding against the floorboards. The shadows shifted, mockingly dancing against the barren walls. 15 seconds in total, the voice echoed down into their darkness. Don't make this worse for yourselves. A sense of desperation clawed at Karen's throat. They were cornered now, but options raced through her mind. They could try to hide deeper into the crawl space, or she paused, taking a breath that felt like shards of glass. The window, she whispered, heart racing as the idea surged. The small window at the back. We can escape out of it. Mom, it's barely big enough for a cat. Chloe protested, but Karen could see the hope flickering in her eyes. Joey, you're small enough, Karen urged, her voice fierce with a mother's directive. You can slip through and open the door from the outside. No way. Joey's eyes popped open in fear. What if I get caught? But the footsteps above were moving closer. The officers were talking louder. Time was running out, and the darkness felt suffocating. Please, I need you to trust me. We won't leave you behind, I promise. Chloe nodded, desperation narrowing her gaze. You can do this, Joey. A gleam of determination crossed Joey's face, replaced swiftly by uncertainty. What if they catch me? In that heartbreaking moment of silence, the unthinkable truth shone. Then we'll make noise and create a distraction. You have to go now. With a gulp against the anxiety rising in her throat, Karen lifted Joey against her, gripping him tight. You have to be brave. The footsteps paused above, as if sensing the shift in the air. The boy's courage swelled, but the cold grip of fear never released its hold on them. Within seconds, they were darting to the far corner of the basement, crouching beneath the rotting rafters. Now, she urged. As Joey reached towards the narrow opening, a sudden crash echoed above and Karen's breath hitched. 30 seconds. The voice was now in a panic, footsteps scattering like leaves in the wind. Go, go, she hissed, urging her son forward, emotions warring inside her. He slipped through, one last glance back of terror and resolve on his face. She felt his hand brush against hers, and just like that he was out. Then in a heartbeat, there was a loud crash from above as the door swung open entirely, and everything around them erupted into chaos. As Chloe clutched her arm, the panic surged anew. They were no longer just hiding. They were in the eye of a storm. Karen could only think of how close the precipice was as a shadow loomed over them, breaking through the threshold of the basement. Now the chilling voice demanded, where are they hiding? Her heart raced as she prepared to face the truths that could shatter their world or save it. What would happen next, and could they survive the unveiling secrets that lay just beyond the door? Karen felt her heart pound in her chest as the shadow grew larger, darkening the doorway as it crept closer. What had they awakened? Chloe's voice quivered beside her, barely audible over the pounding echoes of her fear. They were facing down a figure that loomed like a nightmare come alive. Would they make it out? Tell me where you're hiding. The voice boomed again, furious and impatient. The footsteps were almost on top of them now. Karen's instincts screamed at her to run, to lash out, to protect her daughter. Chloe's grip on her tightened, nails digging into Karen's arm as the figure stepped fully into the dim light. It wasn't just a shadow, it was a man dressed in a dark uniform, his face twisted in rage and frustration. Kid, he shouted, just as the last echo of Joey's escape faded. I know someone's down there. You think you can hide like rats? The words cut through the air, heavy with menace. Panic surged through Karen like fire in her veins. We're not hiding. She shot back, her voice stronger than she felt. What do you want? The man leaned in closer, eyes glinting in the sliver of light. I want your son. I want to know where he ran off to. Chloe dropped her voice to a whisper. We have to do something, Mom. Just hold on tight. Karen's voice shook, but she steeled herself. The fear that threatened to swallow her was met with a flicker of defiance. If they were caught, there'd be no return. Tell me where he is. I don't have all night. He demanded again, stepping forward menacingly. In an act of pure desperation, Karen shifted slightly and pushed Chloe down lower. We need a plan, she muttered under her breath, barely able to suppress the tremor in her voice. Karen, Chloe hissed, a bead of sweat rolling down her temple. He's going to find us. We can't. But before she could finish, a sudden crash echoed above them. A cascade of shouts erupted from the men searching. The officers had split up, the sound of their boots booming against the wooden floor rattling the foundations of the old house. That moment of chaos fueled Karen with a burst of adrenaline. We have to move. She grabbed Chloe's hand and together, they darted toward the back corner where the shadows were thickest, hoping to go unnoticed. Their breaths quickened, hearts racing with the relentless beat of the impending threat. Fools! The voice boomed from above, now filled with frustration. You can hide, but you can't escape me. I will find you. As they crouched down, cloaked in the darkness, Karen felt a warm trickle of sweat slide down her back. It was now or never. Chloe, can you get to the window? Her daughter nodded, determination flashing in her eyes. Finally she reached up. The window, while small, was still a potential escape route. Karen hoisted Chloe up, her fingers trembling against the rough structure's edges. Go, she urged, the sound of footsteps drawing closer. With an anxious push, Chloe managed to wriggle her torso through. But suddenly, a loud crash came from the door, echoing through the basement like thunder. Mom! Chloe shrieked, voice thin with terror. Go on, I'll find a way. Karen yelled back, barely hearing her own words over the crashing noise. But it was too late. The man from above had descended, his form now looming at the top of the staircase, a shadow against the dim light flickering from the overhead bulb. Gotcha! He sneered, eyes fixating on Karen, pure malice creeping into his grin. She felt the ground sway beneath her like it might open up and swallow her whole. There was no way out anymore. With a sense of dread freezing her in place, she had only one thought. They were running out of time, and Joey didn't know what danger lingered just outside. Chloe! She shouted, desperate. I can't hold him off much longer. The door creaked ominously and she braced herself, ready to fight for every second she could buy. But in that moment, as the figure lunged forward, there was a sudden rumble from above, and shadows danced across the walls like fireflies, creating confusion in the room. What was happening? With a crashing sound that threatened to tear the world apart, the ceiling above gave way, and darkness swallowed everything. In the next heartbeat, Karen felt the world tilt on its axis. She grabbed wildly for anything to hold on to. Mom! But whether it was the echo of Chloe's voice or something entirely different, she couldn't tell. There was only chaos, and behind it, a rising darkness she couldn't escape. Was this the moment everything unraveled? Or was it a chance for survival they'd never expected? The dust settled thick in the air, a suffocating blanket that muted their breaths. Karen coughed, her lungs fighting against the wreckage now crashing around her. Pieces of plaster fell like snow, a stark reminder of the danger that lurked within those four walls, fueled by the rage of the man who had been hunting them. Chloe! She yelled, the sound almost lost in the debris. Panic sparked within her, fraying at the edges of her mind. The darkness enveloped them like a heartbeat, pulsing with an energy both overwhelming and oppressive. She found herself on her knees, palms pressed against the cold floor, struggling to push herself upright. The fragments of plaster dust coated her lips, and she licked them, tasting the metallic tang of fear. She blinked rapidly, trying to focus, her heart racing. Mom! Chloe's voice floated through the hazy stillness, shaky yet determined. I'm here. Relief washed over Karen like a rush of fresh air. Where are you? She shouted back, her voice echoing around them. Under the stairs. Karen's heart sank. The very place they'd tried to avoid, the spot that would keep them hidden but so exposed. She scrambled through the muck and obscurity, feeling for the familiar outline of her daughter. There. A small shape. She reached out, fingers brushing against Chloe's arm, and in that instant, the tightness in her chest began to ease. "I'm okay," Chloe whispered, but Karen could hear the tremor in her voice. "What about the man?" He is still up there," Karen stammered. "But we have to get out of here now." Shuffling sounds echoed above them, an agitated shuffle of boots and the rustling of uniforms. "You think hiding makes you safe?" The voice mocked tauntingly, as though he savored their terror. "I'll find you. Just wait." Karen gritted her teeth. She needed to move. Time was closing in, and fear bubbled hot in her veins again. "We need a backup plan. There was the door we saw when we came in. Let us find another way out." "Mom, it's too dangerous," Chloe insisted, her eyes wide with fright. "Chloe, listen to me," Karen urged, swallowing hard against the lump that had formed in her throat. "We don't have a choice. We must keep moving. We can do this." Taking a moment, she took a deep breath before her resolve hardened. They crept towards the shadows that hugged the walls, eyes darting around for any shimmer of light or potential exit. Then came a sound like a beast lurking just beyond their sight. The unmistakable grunt of the man. "Where are you?" he yelled again, the anger in his voice making Karen's stomach twist. "You can't outrun me." And suddenly the old door at the end of the corridor trembled. Was someone trying to get in? The thought sent chills down her spine. "Mom," Chloe gasped. "What if we're not strong enough?" In that moment doubt crept in like a heavy fog, threatening to drown them both. But Karen shook her head fiercely. "We are strong enough. We can't let him win. Joey is out there and we can find him." With purpose she grabbed Chloe's arm. They were so close now. If they could just reach the door at the end of the hallway, there could be freedom waiting. But as they darted forward, the light suddenly flickered. The sound of shattering glass erupted in their ears. "Found you!" The voice boomed, shaking the very fabric of their resolve. Karen's heart dropped as she spun around. Terror flooded her senses. She saw the man's shadow then, larger than life, crashing down towards them, eyes ablaze with fury. "Run, Chloe!" she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos, propelling them both forward. They bolted through the door as echoes of destruction followed them, crashing down behind as if the very house were collapsing to assert its dominance over them. But as they stumbled out into the cold night air, breathing heavily and minds racing, a new horror lurked. The blackness wrapped around the ground like a predator waiting to pounce. Where was Joey? Where could he be? And worst of all, what had they unknowingly unleashed? Both mother and daughter stood frozen for a heartbeat, breathless, exposed on the brink of discovery. And just when they thought they had escaped, an ominous sound filtered through the sudden quiet, a whisper of a name that sent a shiver down their spines. "Joey." Karen's heart pounded, eyes wide as the name echoed in her ears. Joey. The darkness felt heavier now, a weight pressing down, squeezing the air from her lungs. Gone was the relief of escaping the house that had betrayed them. They were standing in the open night, but the threat still loomed. "Mom, what do you think that means?" Chloe asked, her voice a fragile whisper, pulling Karen back from the edge of despair. "I don't know," she admitted, her gaze darting around, searching for any sign of their son. "But we have to find him. We can't stand here." Karen's instincts kicked in, a desperate mother's need rising like a tidal wave. They started down the cracked concrete path, shadows dancing with the dim glow of the moon above. The night was eerily silent, save for the pounding of their feet. Fear gripped Karen, particularly when she imagined what had transpired in that house. Had the hunt reached its climax? Or was it just a mere prologue to a nightmare waiting to unfold? "Joey!" she called, voice trembling as it was swallowed by the vast emptiness around them. "Where are you?" No response. Just the rustle of wind brushing against the trees, whispering secrets she wasn't ready to hear. "Keep your eyes open, Chloe," Karen warned, glancing back at her daughter. "We can't get separated again." They moved cautiously now, on high alert for any sign of movement, any hint of danger lurking nearby. Suddenly Chloe stopped. "Look." She pointed toward the edge of the property, where the trees thinned out to reveal a larger area. An old swing set creaked in the haunting stillness. It seemed to sway like a pendulum, marking time in a world gone wrong. Karen's pulse quickened. Joey might be over there. Let us go. They rushed towards the swing set. The moonlight flickered in and out of the trees, giving an otherworldly glow to the yard. With each step, unease began clawing at Karen's mind. A cold chill washed over her, as if something were watching them from the darkness. Mom Chloe's voice broke through her thoughts again. What's that? She pointed to a shadowy figure hunched at the base of a tree, partially hidden in the underbrush. Joey? Karen squinted, voice filled with hope and terror. The figure didn't move, almost as if it were part of the landscape, blending seamlessly into the night. Stay by me, she ordered, stepping forward cautiously. Each footfall felt like treason against the gravitational pull of dread. As they neared, the shape became clearer. It was not Joey, but a discarded backpack lying on the ground, unzipped and open. Darkness clung closely as Karen knelt down, her pulse hammering in her throat. What's in there? Chloe leaned closer, peering inside. It looks like his journal, Karen cut in, reaching a hand into the bag. The leather was worn, unlike anything Joey had taken before. She pulled it out and opened it nervously, but what page did her fingers land on? One filled with hurried scrawls, each word a knife to her heart. It spoke of fear, of falling deeper into shadows, and of a secret he had kept hidden from them. Mom, what if he knew something? Chloe whispered, her eyes wide and brimming with tears. Karen's mind raced. What secret? What could be so dangerous that it drove Joey to hide it? Suddenly a twig snapped behind them, the sound sharp and invasive. Run! Karen screamed, scooping up the journal as they bolted back toward their first refuge, the safety of their home, where all of it had begun. Footsteps thundered behind them, the monstrous figure emerging from the tree-line, swathed in darkness, roaring their names like a chilling battle cry. Karen! Chloe! You can't escape this time! That horrible voice bounced off the trees as they fled, a sound that twisted their stomachs. They couldn't look back. But as they reached the house's threshold, a scream pierced the air, a primal call that could only belong to Joey. Joey! Both mother and daughter screamed, just as they reached for the doorknob, dread crawling back into their veins like a venomous snake, and as the door creaked open, another voice, a more sinister whisper, slipped through the air, chilling them both to their bones. You've awakened the truth? The world spun in dizzying chaos as Karen and Chloe burst into the house, hearts pounding like war drums. The air was thick with dust and fear, remnants of the chaos they had left behind. They could still hear the echoes of Joey's desperate scream vibrating through their minds, a haunting reminder of the danger lurking in the dark. Joey! Karen cried again, panic clawing at her throat. She felt like she was treading water in an ocean of dread. Where are you? The heavy silence enveloped them, twisting her gut tighter. If they didn't find him soon, the consequences could be dire. Chloe's eyes darted around the dimly lit room. We have to think. He might be hiding, or she glanced back at Karen, fear painted across her young face. What if he got caught? No. Focus. He is strong. He is out there, Karen said, forcing strength into her voice, despite the quaking in her chest. They both knew they had to find Joey before whatever hunted them found him first. Pieces of Joey's journal weighed heavily in her mind, the words he had scribbled were anguished. He was scared, she murmured, nearly choking on the truth that hung in the air like a knife. Karen took a deep breath, swallowing her fear. They formed a team as they moved through the house, scanning each corner, each shadow. We'll check the back room first, Chloe suggested, urgency in her tone. As they pushed the door open, the room felt like an echo of lost safety. Time felt fragile, each tick of the clock mocking their descent into fear. But then came another sound, a shuffling, a whisper. Joey? Karen's voice trembled, tense and teetering on the edge of hope. They stepped cautiously into the shadows, hearts in sync, ready for anything. Suddenly a figure emerged, half hidden behind the old couch, eyes wide with fright. Mom? Chloe? It was Joey, relief flooding his voice, pure light cutting through the darkness that had surrounded them. Joey! Thank God! Karen rushed forward, and they enveloped him in a hug that told him everything he needed to hear. The warmth of their connection ignited a flicker of hope in the heart of the storm. What happened? Chloe asked fiercely, pulling her brother back to look at him. We heard you yelling. Are you okay? I didn't know where to go. I had to hide, he admitted, his voice shaky. There's too much going on. I thought you guys, he paused, his throat tightening. I thought I lost you. No. Not now. Not after everything they had faced. You're not losing us, Joey, Karen said fiercely, holding each of her children's gazes. We're in this together. The sound of footsteps rumbled above them, a reminder that danger still lurked like a dark cloud. They had to move, and quickly. We may not have time to waste. There are those looking for you, Karen urged. She turned towards the door, ready to make their escape. Let us get out of here. They stumbled through the small house, maneuvering toward the back exit. Every heartbeat echoed with urgency. Mom, Joey interjected suddenly, indecision flashing across his face. What about Dad? Shadows of doubt settled thickly in the air, clashing against the light of their family bonds. If we regroup and ground ourselves, maybe we can deal with him later, Karen said with a steely edge, but uncertainty nipped at her every thought. Your safety comes first. Just as they reached the door, a thunderous crash sounded from the front of the house, sending their nerves spiraling into overdrive. Go! Go! Joey shouted, physically pushing Chloe ahead as they bolted outside into the cool night air. They sprinted, away from the house that had been both sanctuary and prison. As they reached the treeline, the sounds of the chaos began to fade, just enough to give them hope. We need to find a place to hide, something safe until we can figure this out. But as they hastily moved deeper into the shadows, the sharp echoes of reality tugged at Karen's focus. Mom, Joey's voice wavered, pulling her from her thoughts. About my journal I wrote about Dad's connections, some things I overheard when he thought I wasn't listening. Do you think he could be in real danger? Karen's mind raced. Had this been the reason for all the madness? A flicker of unease danced through Joey's eyes. I think it might be worse than we realized. I heard them talking about him, Mom. If we don't figure this out, he trailed off, and a shiver of dread crawled down Karen's spine. No, we can handle this. We know now that we are together, Karen said, gripping her children's hands tightly, determined to push through. But the darkness lingered just behind them, a perfect argument against their hope. In that moment, a fierce resolve ignited within her. We need to confront Dad, but this isn't just about him anymore. It's about our family. We will face the truth together, no matter how painful. You're right, Joey let out, his courage ignited. We'll take this head on. With a shared nod, they all understood their story was far from over. Whatever dangers lay ahead, they would tackle them as a family. They set their sights back toward home, knowing they were stronger together, as aggregates of swollen hearts bonded by blood and soul. But as they made their way back, the shadows felt less like mere darkness and more like a foreboding omen. They would have to be ready to face whatever reality awaited them, come what may. One family united against a storm of truth. Each step taken brought them closer to light. As they reached the front of their house, Karen held her breath, steeling herself against the faceless fears waiting on the other side. Together, she whispered, heart hammering in sync with her children's. In that shared commitment they felt a renewed sense of strength. Together they would confront the daunting truths that awaited them. The door creaked open slowly, revealing more than just their home, but a home cradling unyielding secrets. Karen felt the weight of love and loyalty behind her every intended step forward and stood ready to weave their family back together once more before the piercing light of truth. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories that unravel life's deepest mysteries. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let's build this incredible community together.